So Nigeria's Debt Management Office yesterday announced plans to borrow between 200 billion and 250 billion naira from the Sukuk debt market before the end of this year. That loan, which will be channeled into roads infrastructure, follows Nigeria's successful $4 billion Eurobond offer held in September. Putting more flesh on this story for me tonight is Taiwo Oyedele. He is the fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PwC Nigeria. Thank you for coming through this evening, Taiwo Oyedele. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much, boss.
Thank you. Yeah, you've got. Yes, thank you so much for your time. Nigeria has used this special debt window called Sukuk since 2017 to fund road infrastructure. What's your assessment of what's been achieved over the past 5 years?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Nigeria needs all the infrastructure that we can get because based on some studies that were done during the ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, it was clearly indicated there that in terms of infrastructure to, GDP, infrastructure stock of Nigeria, it was just about 35% compared to South Africa at the time, and it was over 80%. So which meant that even if Nigeria wanted to get to the level of South Africa, assuming South Africa was not making any further progress, we needed to move about 50% of GDP. And as of today, that's easily about 70 trillion naira. So that's a lot. So if you think about roads, which is the specific focus of the Sukuk, according to the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Nigeria has about 195,000 kilometers of road network. Out of these, only about 60,000 kilometers are paved. And even of that, a large proportion is in very poor state. That is almost good as saying it's not paved. Now, the road network attributable to the federal government was estimated by that commission to be at about 32,000 kilometers. So on the average, it tends to cost Nigeria about 1 billion naira to fix 1 kilometer of asphalt grade A or trunk A road, which is almost 4 times the estimate of the World Bank for the cost of doing that in Africa, which they put at about 280 million naira. So on one hand, you have significant, contract inflation, or if you like, call it padding, that makes it difficult for us to move at scale very quickly. On the other hand, if you look at this amount that is going to be raised now, 200 billion to 250, if you average it at the cost of 1 billion per kilometer, you are barely doing 200, 250 kilometers. As a fraction of the number of kilometers that federal government needs to handle that belongs to the federal government, this is less than 1%. So while this is a good step in the right direction to try and develop infrastructure, including roads, this will not make the significant impact that we're looking for. And therefore, government has to look for other creative ways and also to try and get some efficiency in terms of not only delivering those projects at the lowest possible cost with the highest quality possible, but doing so with speed. So you don't spend forever before you deliver a road project, which defeats the purpose of why you are borrowing, to be able to crystallize economic development as quickly as possible.
Well said, but again, when you look at the projects on the ground, you've talked about the amount we've borrowed so far. We've done, between 2017 to date, we've been consistent borrowing through the Sukuk window to fund these road projects. You've talked about contract inflation and all that. So this is not the fault of the Debt Management Office. Their job is to find the money. So how do we fix this problem that is inherent in what you call value for money? Who should be responsible for that? That the DMO is not going to the market to raise billions or hundreds of billions, yet the value of what we see on the table does not match the money that was brought in.
Yes, you're right. The job of the Debt Management Office is not to ensure that contracts are not inflated and that projects are completed on time. But you have to look at it from the angle of it's one government and it's one people and it's one nation. And therefore, we have to find a coordinated way. Why not being the function or the obligation or responsibility of the debt management office? It is the obligation of the federal government. It is the obligation of the state and local government, and also of the people of Nigeria. So I think the starting point is to say that, when the DMO is trying to borrow, it's just one of the many ways in which government will finance their deficit budget. So first and foremost, all these projects are already in the budget. So this capital project is just being financed, and this is one of the ways of doing so. So the question around, contract inflation, budget padding, I think it has to start with the budgeting process itself. So how transparent is the process leading to estimating how much we're going to spend? And what is the level of diligence that goes into certification in terms of the quality of work that is being done, and then ensuring that those are done on time? Think about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which is by far the most important road in Nigeria. We have been on it now for easily more than 10 years. So, and that means that for 10 years, some costs have been incurred, but the benefits we haven't been able to realize. People still spend hours and hours in traffic trying to move between Lagos and Ibadan. In addition to the additional, inconvenience and cost of repairing their vehicles, the cost of developing a headache just for doing a trip that should be, under 1 hour, and you do it sometimes 3 to 4 hours. So we need to consider all of these, and even the budgeting process itself. Maybe it's time for Nigeria to say, if I have a long-term project, why do I budget for it on an annual basis? So you do a budget for 12 months and you're able to do 20%, and then next year there's no guarantee that you get a budget or you won't get the right amount. So if the project is going to last for 4 years, why don't we just have a budget for the entire project for 4 years and get it approved, so you only have to deal with variations? So we have to have this connected, integrated, and coordinated strategy to how we do budget, to how we fund the project, including raising debt, like what the DMO is trying to do, and then the efficiency of delivery in terms of quality and speed for those projects.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, should the Sukuk borrowing window be expanded to include other form of project funding that Nigeria really needs? Taiwo.
Yeah, I'll say yes. Even though the yes is with some caveats. So we have to think about projects that are commercially viable. So projects that are self-financing. Whether you're talking about ports, whether you're talking about, rail, whether you're talking about, so even roads. Some of the roads are commercially viable. They can be self-financing. So for any capital project that can pay itself in terms of the cost of borrowing to finance the project, I would say by all means, yes, we should go ahead and raise as much money as we can to be able to fix those roads. Every single time that government has gone out with these Sukuk bonds, we've seen a lot of interest, sometimes in multiples of 100% of the amount that government wanted to offer, which means there's the appetite and government can easily raise more. But government should only raise more money for capital projects if and only if they will be self-financing, if the quality will be there, and if there will be timely completion. Some of the challenges you see with government is even the procurement process itself is a nightmare. And you also have the red tape to deal with government agencies. You would recall that government introduced the Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme, under which the likes of, Dangote Group, NLNG, BUA, I think, as well, and then even Lafarge, and even more recently, we heard that the NNPC is going to construct some roads. If you can get the private sector efficiency, because the private sector, many of us have seen the Apapa Road constructed by the Dangote Group, the quality is world-class, and the speed of completion was good enough. So which means the public gets the benefit of the money that is being spent. And then because the value has been created in the economy, not only will this stimulate activities and economic growth, It will be self-financing, so overall it's good for the country without creating any problem for our tomorrow. I always like to say that borrowing is how we spend tomorrow's revenue today. And therefore, that spending must benefit our tomorrow, otherwise we compromise the future of our generation. So government indeed should borrow for more
Yes.
projects, but borrow with care and make sure that it's self-financing.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight on the show. Taiwo Oyedele, Fiscal Policy Partner and Africa Tax Leader at PwC Nigeria. This is Arise Exchange.